Before, the customer had an undermount in a bulkhead that wasn't working, and afterwards they had a beautiful glass canopy which was ducted up and terminated through the roof. And this installation was pretty interesting because the customer actually had an undermount range hood in a bulkhead. Now, if you don't know what a bulkhead is, it's basically like a lowered ceiling, which is kind of like a box, and it just increases space above something, so you can put lights or, you know, fans and things like that in, or an undermount range hood. Now, an undermount range hood usually goes under a cupboard above a cooker, but in this case it was in a bulkhead, and as you can see, there was no ducting on there, and it was straight above the tiles. So one of the first things I had to do was actually provide a ceiling patch or a bulkhead patch to where the existing undermount range hood was, because they're going to put a canopy in its place and there'd be these massive holes either side of it. Even though there was a bulkhead, there still wasn't enough space for a termination and a flue to sit on top of the appliance. So I had to run the ducting a few meters away to another pitch. You can see my screwdriver there on the worktop. As we come back through the roof, you can see the ducting there. That's going to run through the roof and to the flue itself. The flue is the termination that goes to the outside air. Some people might know that as a chimney, but we call it a flue. And the flashing is being put down and integrated into the roof, so the water flows freely over it. With the roof penetration, the tile was still intact. There's a hole in it for the roof penetration to go through it. It's sealed to the tile and there's a flashing over it. So that doubles the weatherproofing of that penetration. But this customer's cooktop was 900 millimeters wide. It was actually hanging over the window by about 100 mil. So the customers decided that they put in a glass canopy to take away the fact that if you're going to center a canopy there, it's going to hang over by 100 mil. I thought that was genius. So if anyone else has that issue, then a glass canopy will solve that problem, because even though it is going to hang over a little bit, you're still going to have glass and light shining through it. And I think the brain will just even forget it's there. So when I'm doing the remedial work of actually providing a ceiling patch on a job, I like to put filler in there for the client so they can later sand it and paint it themselves, or arrange a decorator to come in and do that for them. It just makes things easier down the line for the customer. So smoothing that over for them is brownie points for me and happy days for them. Another thing that is really important that a lot of tradies get a lot of stick for is cleaning up at the end of the job. So I always clean up at the end of the job, but I also clean as I go. So if I make a bit of mess, I just clean it up straight away, and then at the end you haven't got mess everywhere. Range hoods are functional and they're also aesthetic, so they've got to look good and be functional at the same time. So I like to clean everything down at the end of the job with a microfiber cloth and some wipes, just to make sure that everything is looking good for the customers. So even if they do come in and there's some remedial work around, the installation itself is finished and it looks great and it's ready to use. If you want a range hood done in Perth, reach out to us, perthrangehoods.com.au, or give us a call. I'll be happy to come out and chat to you about your installation, and we can go from there.